We got blasted with news, Falcons fans. Get ready because there's a lot to talk about on today's episode of Falcons Today by Chad Sports. Welcome in, by the way. My name is Moose. First things first, Bijan tells all, or at least a very brief screenshot of what he thinks of Kevin Stefanski at the Pro Bowl games. By the way, all good things is what he said. He had not one harsh word in the very brief time that he mentioned Kevin Stefanski. And I believe that if the best player in the National Football League is calling his new coach fire, that tells you something. And that's a good thing. So we're going to break it all down here on today's episode. First things first, I got to clap it up to you guys. We were at 12.7% just 2 months ago in our noti gang. We are trying to get that up to 14% today. So, if you haven't done so already, make sure you keep up with the latest surrounding the Dirty Birds by hitting that subscribe button, click the bell icon, select the all option, and never miss a time that we post ever. So here's exactly what Bijan said. He was caught talking to Kyle Juszczyk, the fullback of the San Francisco 49ers, and they asked him about, or Juszczyk asked Bijan about the new coach, meaning Kevin Stefanski. And here's what he said. Yeah, he's fire, bro. I like him a lot, and I like his offensive scheme. His offensive coordinator, Tommy Rees, he's the OC, but he'll call the plays. He's awesome, too. So all things considered, even though that's literally 2 sentences of Bijan talking, he sounds excited about what's to come in this Kevin Stefanski-led offense. And I can't blame him. I do believe that Kevin Stefanski's overall scheme is exactly what you want to see because it mimics exactly what the very best offenses do. Now, the creativity, the situational game planning or game calling and play calling, in my opinion, maybe that needs a little bit of work and a little bit of polish. But from a fundamental standpoint, he does a lot of things that the Sean McVays, the Kyle Shanahans, the Clint Kubiaks, that they do as well. So he does sound excited about this year. Now, I know what the critics are going to end up saying. Moose, he has to say that. It's good PR. He has to talk very highly about his new head coach. He won't openly criticize Kevin Stefanski, but behind closed doors, he's probably questioning the move, or just give it time, Moose. He'll be pissed just like he was under the Raheem. I've heard every excuse in the book. Here's why I disagree with what the haters are going to say. Bijan is confiding in another player during this conversation. It's literally a one-on-one with some background audio catching what Bijan had to say. So it's not like they had a microphone in Bijan's face. He sounds genuine and legitimately excited about playing in the Kevin Stefanski offense. Now, I told you, I didn't love the Kevin Stefanski hire. I didn't hate the Kevin Stefanski hire. I thought it was a B hire. I've been on that train since the moment Kevin Stefanski said, I'm going to be the next coach of the Atlanta Falcons. But he, meaning Kevin Stefanski, should be unbelievably excited to work with one of the most talented, if not the most talented, player at any one position in the National Football League. Bijan had over 2,000 yards from scrimmage last year, 11 total touchdowns. The guy's a stud. And Kevin Stefanski, foundationally, like I said earlier, does some things that we love to see. Heavy usage of multiple tight end sets and 12 to 13-man personnel, meaning he's going to bring those extra tight end sets on the offensive line and create a lot of play action and a lot of motion based off of that offensive line kind of scheme. He's a run-first coach. It'll be centered around Bijan. He'll have more play action calls than Zac Robinson, who, by the way, was dead last in play action usage last year. It was awful from a predictability standpoint. And that's why the Falcons struggled so much on third down. So all of these things considered, with the automatic roster that we've got right now in terms of talent on the defensive side of the ball, we bring in a free agent here, we hit on a couple of draft picks. There's no reason that this Atlanta Falcons team in 2026 can't win the division and head back to the playoffs after an 8-year drought. This is exactly why I'm more optimistic every single day about the Kevin Stefanski hire. And you should be too. And if you're not, at least let me know in the conversation, or excuse me, in the comments. Thank you, Producer Jack, down in the comment section down below. Now, coming up next Ian Cunningham speaks as the GM for the very first time with the Dirty Birds. Now, before we get into what he said, and by the way, it was kind of a preliminary introduction, I've got to tell you about our friends over at Factor Meals. You want to eat better, but you have zero time and zero energy to make it happen. Factor doesn't ask you to meal prep or follow recipes. It just removes the entire problem. 2 minutes, real food, done. Choose from 100 rotating weekly meals with lean proteins, colorful vegetables, whole food ingredients, healthy fats, and the stuff that you'd make if you had the time. Plus, they've got a brand new Muscle Pro collection that supports strength and recovery. I personally love that one, specifically when I get out of the gym. Always fresh, never frozen, ready in 2 minutes, no prep, no cleanup, no mental load, meals that fit your goals and your schedule, healthier eating, calorie management, and of course, more protein. Head to factormeals.com/FalconsChat50 off and use code FalconsChat50 off to get 50% off your first Factor box plus free breakfast for 1 year. Offer is only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. Make healthier eating easy with Factor. I'm going to put all of that in the comments and description of today's video. Ian Cunningham speaking for the very first time. Now, I did think, by the way, just from listening to what the press conference had entailed, it was very sentimental. It talked about where he's come from, where he's been, and leading up to this decision. So there wasn't too much to talk about with the X's and O's of what the job is actually going to entail. But he did say that this organization, the one that he grew up watching and being a fan of in Atlanta, is something that is very near and dear to his heart. So Ian Cunningham did answer a few questions about what this roster construction is going to look like, what the overall philosophy of his GM position here with the Falcons is going to be, and this is kind of what you can take kind of verbatim here. He said, we're going to be tough, we're going to be physical, and we're going to build through the trenches. Our goal is to draft, develop, and retain. You can never have enough draft picks. Spoken like a true GM. That's what you want to hear, because obviously the ultimate goal is to hit on every single draft pick. You're not going to hit on every single draft pick, but that's exactly what kind of like your mentality. That's perfection. Here's what he also said. The tough physical nature of this team is going to be built through the trenches, meaning the offensive line and the defensive line. And this is definitely true based off of the recent hires the Atlanta Falcons have already made this offseason. There's a reason that you went out and retained Nate Ollie. There's a reason that you hired Bill Callahan. You are going to be focusing on the offensive and the defensive lines. Something, by the way, that the Chicago Bears, where he just came from, did this offseason. You get the right coach, you make the right decisions on the offensive and defensive lines, you get a couple more weapons to complement your young quarterback, and boom, you're right back into the playoffs. That's what this team's focus needs to be this year. Year one, get back to the playoffs. I don't care if you win the division. Just get to the playoffs. Or at least, at the very bare minimum, be in contention every single week until week 18. And if you go back and you look at last year's line ranks, this is specifically on the offensive line, by the way. Their pass blocking rank wasn't awful. It wasn't great. It was 16th. Their run blocking rank actually was still pretty good. But obviously, both of these areas can be improved upon. And the one thing I will say is, while these numbers might look pretty decent from the very top down, they got progressively worse as the season went along. So the offensive line started to deteriorate in terms of productivity and play as the season went along. Every Falcons fan who watched every game knows that. And I still believe highly in this Falcons offensive line. We're going to be getting Caleb McGarry back. We're going to be getting Storm Norton back. Elijah Wilkinson will not be starting at that right tackle position, although I thought he did, for a third string right tackle, he did pretty decent. We had a fairly decently healthy year on the offensive line, which is excellent outside of Storm Norton and Caleb McGarry. So I'm hoping that when we get those two back, we'll have even better play and even more continuity on that O-line. Here's another thing that Matt Ryan spoke of when it came to Ian Cunningham. He said, and Cunningham also alluded to, that they're not going to make a decision on Michael Penix because they're not coaching the team. Now, while I do agree with that statement, this is interesting to me because ultimately, yes, that is correct. They're not coaching. They're not deciding who's actually going to be playing once week 1 comes around. That is the coach's job. The GM and the president of football bring players in. The coaches coach. They decide who's the best player for the week 1 starting job, and then they roll out that starting lineup. So while there is a bit of truth to what Ryan and Cunningham are saying, I don't believe they're married to Michael Penix. They didn't draft Michael Penix. So where is their allegiance to MPJ? There really isn't one. Now, we could argue back and forth all day long if he's going to be the week 1 starter. My guess is if he's healthy and ready to go, he will be. But the future meetings for the Atlanta Falcons are going to be as follows. With the draft talk that is coming up here in the next coming months, you'll be talking about weapons acquisition. You'll be talking about line depth, both on the defensive and the offensive side of the ball. But you're also going to be talking quarterback futures. We don't know what's going to happen with Kirk Cousins. Could he sign a much cheaper deal once the team officially releases him? Yeah, it's possible. Is it likely? Probably not. Is this team going to be getting somebody in free agency like a Joe Flacco? It's a possibility. He has experience with Kevin Stefanski. Are they going to draft a younger quarterback? We don't know yet. That is going to be decided here within the next month and a half to 2 months. But I do know this. There is no marriage between Ryan, Cunningham, and Penix. So if they decide to move off of Penix or have a very short leash, you can't be surprised by that. None whatsoever. So if you were to decide, if you were to put yourself in their shoes, Cunningham and Ryan, what area on the team are they going to target first? What do you think that will be? Let me know in the comment section down below. Based off of the comments that I heard today, I would probably say defensive line. Then I'd probably go weapons. Then I'd probably go offensive line depth. And then probably address the quarterback position after that. Either way, you let me know down in the comment section down below. My name is Moose. That's all I got for you on this episode. I'll be back a little bit later today with more news and rumors surrounding your Dirty Birds. As always, rise up and be cool.